Hey guys, this review and more back with a quick review. This is a side-by-side comparison of the Cybertrack H3, H4, and H5 and H6 webcams from the Adesso company. I've actually done a review with these guys before, and as a result of that review, they actually sent me these cameras, so they were free of charge, which means, full disclosure, you'll see a little prompt at the bottom left or right saying that this is a paid product promotion. The only thing they've done is send me these cameras to review, but since I got them for free, honestly, I gotta say, hey, I was enriched by the value of these cameras, basically. And you're probably noticing there the various prices of them. This is from newegg.com, as well as a few Google searches, so that's the price points. But again, the Adesso company sent these to me free of charge, so that's technically I'm being enriched by them, but you will be able to take an honest side-by-side comparison. And speaking of, if you want to skip ahead a little bit, you can actually watch the side-by-side comparison or the actual comparison of each one's microphone and video capabilities in full screen. The first video is the H3, and it goes through that H3, H4, H5, and H6. They're in full screen, and they're recorded under 1080p, although the H3 is limited to 720, and obviously the 4K H6 is filmed a little higher resolution. But it's all using the OBS software, and it's just a full screen review, and as you go through it, you can kind of look at it and see how things are, and just look at the real microphone power. So that's another thing. All these tests, it's using the integrated microphone, so you get to hear all of them if you want to. Or you can skip to about 11 minutes or so in, and that'll get you to where you need to be and actually see the four quadrants of all four cameras simultaneously. Without getting into a whole lot of detail, each of these mics has the option to clip on to any given monitor using just pressure clamps that are part of the microphone itself. However, the H5 and 6 both have the ability to have a slot to screw onto any traditional tripod mount that you use for a camera, so that's a good improvement there. And the H5 also has autofocus, and the H6 obviously is advertised as 4K. I say advertised because that's probably the only real letdown. It does film at 4K, and it does that just fine, but you're going to need a pretty heavy-duty light source. And as with all 4K cameras, 4K doesn't mean necessarily that the image quality is exceptional or anything. It just means you have the ability to potentially get 4K film at a decent quality with them. So notice that. And again, if you skip to about 11 minutes in, you'll see the 4x4. The Adesso H6, which is advertised as 4K, is definitely the best out of all of them, but it's not a monumental increase. But do keep in mind that all these cameras, even the H6 right there, is at a sub $100 price point, and because of the pandemic, COVID, and everybody working from home, so many of these cameras have just been price gouged beyond belief. Especially Logitech's brand has been exceptionally price gouged. The C920, which used to go for $50, is like breaking 100 on Amazon right now. So that's the big reason why I'm reviewing this. This is for folks who want to see other options out there besides Logitech, and they may be on a budget. So you have all these so that's the main focus and the reason why I started putting this particular review and side by side out. And I'm happy and thank the people at Addesso for sending me these so that more people can see what they're all about. And I do intend to donate the 2 cameras I'm not going to use to a school. Testing. This is using the Adesso Cybertrack H3 at 720p on the pixel scale and integrated microphone. So this is with no extra lighting. This is just standard house lighting using a day glow bulbs that are about 7 feet away. I'm currently sitting about maybe 2 feet away from the camera itself. So this is what you can expect at normal speaking volume. If you're doing remote meetings, online teaching, online classroom kind of stuff, this is what you'll hear from the actual integrated mic. Alright, this is the Adesso Cybertrack H4. So this is going to be very similar to the H3. In fact, it looks almost exactly like the H3 with some minor color variations. The main thing that's going to separate this one out from all the new iterations, the H5 and H6 and all those, is the fact that this does not have any mounting situation for a typical tripod screw-on mount. So it's not going to have the bottom, like basically where you could like mount a camera to a tripod. That little screw point's not going to exist. So it's only going to be usable as a clamp-on model. It's going to clamp onto your screen. So that may or may not be a deal breaker for some people. So right now it's clamped onto my monitor screen, pointing down at me, which also means this will be the only one that has a slightly different angle. So this is the kind of coloration you can expect. I'll throw in a comparison to the H3. This is a 1080p model instead of a 720p, so it's like true HD is what this is going to be. What it does not have, there is no autofocus, so it's going to go out of focus, and it's going to adjust, and then it's going to see me. It adjusts to light intake, but it's not going to do an autofocus, so it just kind of has everything, if you look around, is generally in focus because it's taking like basically a very wide aperture. So that means it's going to have a little bit of lag. I'm noticing that as I'm filming this, there's a little bit more lag to it compared to the other models. But this is the Adesso Cybertrack H4. This is also the integrated mic in the Adesso Cybertrack H4, and I am about maybe 3 feet away from the actual camera itself, maybe 2.5 feet, 3 feet away. So that's what you kind of expect, projecting your voice, speaking in a way that you would want to hear someone on the other side of the room to hear you. So that's kind of the level you get when you have this microphone and camera set up. Alright, so this is the video capture under standard lighting. This is just standard soft white bulbs right over that way. And if you take, this is the Adesso Cybertrack H5. So it looks like from the box. Notice that there is a little more color variation. There's something about cherry, like variation of the color black are more apparent. But again, there's the box for the Adesso Cybertrack. I can get a little closer, and the autofocus should pop into place a little bit and help out. But it's going to want to track to my face first. That might be a little bit difficult. But so this is what you're going to get. This is the integrated microphone you're listening to right now. So the camera, which is right here, I'll tap it real fast just to show y'all. Alright, so that's the only, sorry if it popped your ears a little bit. But that is the Adesso Cybertrack H5 in a nutshell, and this is the general quality you can expect to get it. All these tests are being conducted in OBS Studio to give some kind of standard just context to all of them. So I'm not using any kind of high-end program for these things. It's just a standard streamer setup, more or less. You could also, it looks very similar, just on the integrated camera software that's going to be on your any given PC. So this is kind of what you can expect to be sending out if you're like a Zoom call, if you're streaming, that kind of stuff. How well it does just depends on your internet connection, really. So that's the Addesso Cybertrack H5. Alright, so this is a Cybertrack H6. It's advertised as being in 4K. So that's probably the biggest separator from the previous iterations of this particular brand. This gives you 4K recording, and I will double check the size files and the dimensions and all that stuff. So as far as the detail with 4K, anything dealing with 4K, you're always going to have a substantial amount of light to get everything out of it. So right now I'm going to pop on this panel LED light real fast just to give you an idea of what you can get out of this. Just give me just a moment to hit that little switch. Where's the thing? Where's that? There it is. Alright. It pops on brightly. Alright. So let's adjust that a little bit. Let's make it a little bit less. Got the brightness going. Alright. And we'll turn it down. Alright, so that kind of gives us an idea of what the brightness is. I'm a little washed out, I'm a little overexposed. So best case scenario, right around, yeah, let's go lower, a little lower, right around there. That's where we're looking at it. It looks pretty good. It doesn't look amazing or anything. I would say that this would be a good quality camera, but for the fact that I'm seeing a little bit of a lag in, I'm looking at a screen of myself talking, and I'm seeing a little bit of lag in the actual timing of this. So like I can snap my fingers, you can see some motion taking place. But this is the integrated cameras you're going to get, so depending on how well you hear me, this might be a deal breaker. But overall, they seem pretty nice. I'm a little washed out, I'm not going to lie, but I'm also kind of a pale fella, so maybe you're not going to see much of me anyway. Everything else in the room looks about right, but again, I have this light on me, so maybe that might just be too much light, and it's making me look overexposed. But overall, I think this one breaks the price number at I think 80 or 90, so it's very cheap for a 4K camera. But I don't think you're going to get the 4K benefits unless you actually really get some light on you that's very flattering. So just be aware of that as time goes on. And as I'm looking at my audio information go, just me speaking 3 feet away and occasionally raising my voice a little bit, I'm peaking the mic, so that might be another issue you have to deal with, is dealing with any kind of internal audio settings. That might be helpful. But overall, this is the general look. I'll put a panel of each one up. I'll show the H3, the H4, H5, and this H6, kind of all four nested together with each other. That way you can kind of get a side-by-side comparison. I think the best thing about this one is the color variation is a lot better on this. I get a lot more color and depth of color in the H6 versus the other 3 models, which is kind of a big deal if you're trying to do anything where you want to present yourself or present products or present anything physical that you otherwise couldn't show. But again, one thing I'm noticing is it's very easily overexposing my face. Like I don't have a nose on the video I'm looking at right now. Let's like turn this camera off for a moment. Find the switch. There's the switch. All right. So there we go. This is the camera with just basic room lighting. These are just soft white bulbs. But other than that, this is what you can kind of expect from it as far as up close and this is about 3 feet away. My webcam is fairly distant from me right now. But as far as I can move closer if it helps you out, just better understand what you're going to get out of this. But I'm not going to stand on here forever. It's not amazing, but for the price point, I'd say it's pretty good. It doesn't look too terrible. The color just you can only go by what my recollection of this shirt looks like, but it doesn't wash out the color. Pretty true to color. The RBGs in the corner going off pretty well. Looks about right. All the colors of my son's artwork in the back looks correct. The Duke blue in the back looks proper. Forgive me for not making eye contact. I'm looking at the screen. Overall, it looks pretty good. Is it amazing? Is it perfect? Absolutely not. No question. But it's definitely, for the price point, a workable solution if you're having problems. So if you need a webcam and you want something that's a little bit better than integrated webcams on a like a laptop kind of situation. So overall, pretty good deal, I would say. I'll put the prices of each one, and I'll put the listings on Newegg because I originally purchased this from Newegg. So that's all there's to it. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Alright, so if you're still with me, we can take a quick look at all these. If we look at each one, obviously we can see with the H3 in the top left corner there's some, this is the 1.0 H3. This is one I had a while ago. This, you'll notice the image is flipped. They've since fixed that with their newer models, so if you get a new H3, it apparently is fixed. But the big thing you're going to notice is the color, loss of color, not just in my shirt. I was wearing a different shirt. It's an older footage that I use, but if you look at just the black in the chair, less expensive webcams tend to have a difficulty picking up subtle colors. So that's what you're seeing here. You're also seeing I haven't shaved in that first one. You also have with the H4, H5, and H6, you see just a gradual increase in the color quality, and you're also seeing the fact that I was able to turn a light on for the H6 there. So you have all those options in front of you. Obviously, there's me playing with the light with the H6 again, but you get better quality out of the H6. You get more, it's a wider angle as well. These are all unchanged, completely the same basic distance. The only difference is the H3 and H4 had to be clamped to the monitor because they did not come with a tripod mount. And the tripod mount I have is on an arm just above the monitor. So they're actually about the same distance away. But you'll notice that the actual image size is smaller. That's where they're pulling in the 1080p as well as the 4K resolutions there. It also pulls in a much wider angle, so it takes in a lot more of the image. Notice it kind of goes from, keeping in mind the H3's flipped, you can kind of only see that art from my son. Then you get this one over here, we get a little bit more view of it, but not much more. You get more of the view of the blinds, the lamp, everything is just a little more above my head. With the H5, you get to see more, like a picture of my son on the far right. Then the H6, you get to see just about everything in that little corner that is my office. So you just get more and more to work with as far as video space. And they can be obviously adjusted. You can zoom in. You might be streaming and not want all that image in there. But overall, the H6 is definitely the best quality for the money, in my opinion. It's $90 versus the H5, which goes for 60 to 70. So you're going to get more out of there. The H3 is your quick and dirty, on a budget kind of camera. H4 is good, but I think it's outdone by the H5 just because the autofocus. Because once you lose the autofocus, you basically have to sit very still. You can't move around a whole lot. In certain situations, you want to be able to. But the H5 and H6 performed better than I expected. I really just kind of expected incremental improvements, but going from the H4 to the H5 was a big jump, and going from the H5 to H6 was also a fairly decent sized jump in quality. Is it a $200 webcam? Absolutely not. Again, all four of these are sub $100. You can get the most expensive one there for 90 bucks. So right off the bat, no, I cannot tell you that this is the same as a $200 webcam, because it simply isn't. I can't tell you this is the same thing as a digital SLR hooked up to your computer. It's not. It doesn't do that kind of stuff. I will say this, the more light you put on yourself, the better you have a chance of getting the most out of these cameras, especially with the H6. When you have more lighting, better lighting, you get more out of the product. And that's true of all webcams, including some of the Logitech webcams like the C920. That the more and better light you have for those webcams, the better result you get. And the same is true here. As far as functionality, the H3, you'll get the job done. You'll look professional. It'll look high enough quality. As long as your lighting's okay, you'll get by. H4, H5, H6, you're just going up incrementally. H6 is where I would be if I were trying to like actually produce something at a minimum. If you go much below, it's going to be a little grainy. So just be aware that H6 is probably where you want to be, but H5 and H4 are also pretty good. The H3 I would only recommend for someone who's in a position where they're like, I need to have webcam, people have to be able to see me. Classic examples would be like teachers needing to have a webcam and they just don't have one. Or the integrated webcam on their laptop is 5 years old and it malfunctions. Stick this on your laptop, get it done, get the kids taught. So that would be kind of what I look at the H3. That's the option, that's the quick and dirty option. And obviously incrementally get more and more out of it. But overall, guys, that's my interpretation of all four products here. Again, thank you to the Adesso company for sending it out to me. And again, that's the Cybertrack H3, H4, H5, and H6. And I'll put links to all their Newegg listings to the extent they have them, or if I can find a better listing somewhere else that's more accurate, I'll put it there. But thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a great day. And please like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this.